Hello everybody, this is Yugi. I know, I haven't posted a video in a while, I'm sorry. I'm back. I'm here to bring you guys the Ignition patch that just recently dropped in KMS. Many major changes for a lot of classes across the board, and especially for Hero. So I'll be discussing these changes that were brought to the live server just last week from from KMST to KMS. I wanted to make a video about KMST, but I was afraid that they would change some of the numbers for Hero because honestly, it seemed too good to be true. Like, it seemed like Hero was a little bit too strong in KMST, and I didn't really want to like make a video because I was afraid they would change some of the numbers and stuff like that. And luckily I waited because there was one minor change for Hero from KMST to KMS. But other than that, right now all these changes that I'm going to be discussing are all in KMS live server, so we can expect them in about 4 to 6 months in Maplestory, probably by like end November or maybe mid-December, around there is when we can expect these changes to happen for Maplestory during Ignition. Alright, so lots of changes. I will be going through all the skill changes for Hero, and I'll also be going through what these changes mean for Hero in terms of solo bossing play and party bossing play. I will mostly just be focusing on bossing because there weren't that many grinding changes. There were one or two of them, but not that important. And bossing is really the main focus for this video. I will also have a smaller discussion, like a smaller, more advanced discussion for something that I get asked a lot about, which is cooldown hats and what the changes bring to cooldown hats for Hero. I will say that a lot of these ideas were bounced around in the GMS Hero Discord. I read most of it. I won't take credit for any of these ideas. Mostly this was from John or Dark from Reboot and from Sunny Moonshine in KMS. So big credits to them for having the discussion, and basically I'm just here to like try and put it into a more readable format so that you guys can understand kind of how cooldown hats will work in the future for heroes and whether or not they're actually good. I can't conclusively say myself either. You guys will see later on. So yeah, that's besides the point. Okay, anyways, I've rambled on long enough. This video is going to be quite a long video because as you all know, there were many changes for Hero during Ignition. So yeah, I'll be trying my best to cover all of them, and most likely the video will be quite long. So yeah, sit back and enjoy. Alright, we'll take a look at what actually changed for Hero during Ignition. Alright, so the first major change that happened was they changed Raging Blow. So Raging Blow, the damage for Raging Blow was increased from 200% per hit to 320, not per hit but per line, from 200% per line to 320% per line. But the number of lines was decreased from 7 to 4. So a lot of people have been asking me like, oh my god, Yuki, is Hero nerfed? Oh my god, if you look at the numbers, you take 200 times 7, it's more than 320 times 4. Yes, it is, but you are forgetting that we also have this hyper passive here that gives us +1 extra attack. So if you take a look at the old numbers and the new numbers, you realize that they're exactly the same. So Raging Blow, basically nothing changed, it just got reverse line storied. Don't ask me why we got reverse line storied. It doesn't really make sense. Nothing actually changed. It just made our hits hit harder. I will say that it is a... well, no, actually it's the same. I was gonna say that it's a slight buff for Raging Blow for Weapon Aura, but since the total skill damage per use is the same, it's exactly the same. Basically, we just got reverse line storied, so yeah, nothing changed. It just means that we hit damage cap faster, we hit 150 bill lines faster, and overall, I guess maybe in the very far future when every single line is 150 bills, maybe this will be seen as a nerf, but we're very far away from that reality. It's not even close actually. So yeah, nothing basically changed for Raging Blow. I don't see any way in which it changed. Maybe there are minor changes, I am not sure, but I don't think so. Anyways, that's Raging Blow. So yeah, stop crying about Raging Blow. Nothing changed, alright? Don't stop asking me about it. It's fine. Raging Blow is fine as it is. It's the same thing as it was before. Alright. Next, we also got a minor change to Soul of Burning Soul. I would say minor, but it's actually quite big for grinding. Oh, there's a little bit of editing error here. I'm sorry. Anyways, Soul of Burning Soul, now when you place it on the ground, it will no longer teleport back to you after you move a certain distance. So as you guys know right now, Soul of Burning Soul, when you place it on the ground, Once you move too far away from it, it'll teleport back to you, which is kind of annoying for grinding because you can't actually use it as a proper grinding tool. When you put it down, you try and move around the map a little bit, you move a little bit too far away, so a burning soul will just teleport back to you. So it's pretty annoying for grinding. You can't really utilize it well for grinding. But now you can, because it will no longer TP back to you. It will just stay in one spot and continue to hit mobs, which is great. This is also generally a good grinding change because of the new Erda Fountain. So for you guys that don't know what Erda Fountain is, it is Erda Shower, except now you can install Erda Shower on the ground. And after you kill a certain number of mobs, the Erda Fountain itself will explode and kill mobs around it. So basically, with these two new summons, you can place them down on like more obscure, more difficult parts of the map to reach, and then you can just focus on clearing like a smaller rotation, and you'll be able to full clear maps basically. It's pretty useful. I think it's a good grinding change, obviously. It will probably increase our rates. I don't know how significant it is though. We'll have to actually test. I have seen some people pulling some crazy rates at Odium though. For Hero, I've seen people pull like 15-16k mobs per hour at Odium with no totem, obviously, because it's KMS. But yeah, 15-16k rates per hour with no totem is pretty mad. So yeah, I'm excited to see what heroes can do in the future in Odium with these ignition changes. Alright, that's Sword of Burning Soul. Minor change to me. Next, we have combo default / Worldreaver, as well as Sword Illusion changes. Now I grouped these two changes together because they are intrinsically linked. Because the removal of one of the effects of Worldreaver was transferred over to Sword Illusion. So for Worldreaver, it no longer provides any final damage upon skill usage. So for now, you guys know that when we use Worldreaver, we gain 6 combo orbs worth of final damage, which is 66% final damage upon use, and it lasts for 5 seconds. Now Worldreaver no longer provides any final damage, and the cooldown has increased from 20 to 25 seconds. The final damage increase has actually been transferred to Sword Illusion. So Sword Illusion now increases final damage upon skill usage. It's the same final damage increase as Worldreaver, and it lasts 8 seconds instead of 5 seconds. The cooldown remains at 30 seconds. So what this means is that the overall uptime of our final damage is relatively the same. If you compare 20 second cooldown to 30 second cooldown, it's a 33% increase in cooldown, but there's also a 33% increase in the duration of the final damage from Worldreaver. So from 5 seconds to 8 seconds. So overall, the amount of final damage that we get is the same, even though it was transferred from default or from Worldreaver to Sword Illusion. But what this has other ramifications. So basically, this makes Worldreaver a purely defensive tool. So you no longer need to spam this. You no longer need to spam Worldreaver aggressively to gain final damage. It's purely an iframe skill now. In fact, I don't even think it's worth to use for damage itself. As you know, that Worldreaver itself actually does damage. I don't think it's worth it to use for damage anymore because, like I said, with such a long cooldown, the DPM change is going to be very, very minimal. So I don't suggest that you spam it, even though it does do quite a lot of damage per hit. I don't suggest that you spam it as a damage tool anymore. It's purely defensive now. And as a result of it being purely defensive, the cooldown has increased. I think this is justified. Honestly, I feel like Hero has gotten away with having a 20-second cooldown iframe for very, very, very long. Like previously, you could argue that it's not really that good because as an iframe, you kind of have to keep spamming it to get Worldreaver final damage buff. But now that you don't have to, you don't actually need to spam it, the cooldown has been increased to justify the fact that it's just a very strong short cooldown iframe. Which is, yeah, even having a 25-second cooldown iframe honestly is really, really good. Most other classes will kill to have like anything less than a 1-minute cooldown iframe. So yeah, to me this is a perfectly justified change and I feel like it's fine. What this does is that it makes Hero a lot simpler to play. It's a lot more easy to understand. Like previously, you know, I have to tell you, you know, during your burst, you gotta use Worldreaver twice in order to gain full final damage for combo instinct. During like whenever your Worldreaver is off cooldown, you have to spam it to get more final damage in order to clear bosses faster, in order to optimize your damage, all that kind of shit. But now, no longer the case. You can purely use Worldreaver as a defensive tool. You just use it to survive, which is really, really good. Now, Sword Illusion is actually the more important skill because Sword Illusion actually gives us the final damage that Worldreaver used to. It's no longer just like a mini burst skill. So previously, we will only use it as part of the combo between Sword Illusion, Worldreaver, and Rage Uprising as a sort of like a mini burst kind of thing. But now Sword Illusion is actually gives us the final damage that we need for our burst as well as off burst. And it's much easier to just spam Soul Illusion as a skill itself because it doesn't have the iframe attached to it, so there's no drawback to just spamming Soul Illusion. Basically, the more you spam Soul Illusion, or the better you are at like keeping track of your cooldowns and spamming Soul Illusion, the more final damage you gain, and you don't lose anything, i.e. your iframe in the first in like as compared to when it was on Worldreaver. You don't actually lose the iframe anymore, you just gain the final damage. So yeah, it's simple to understand. Use skill, get final damage, hit harder. Alright. For Worldreaver, it's just use it whenever you are in danger and just survive lol, because you're a hero. Anyways, also another thing to note is that because the Sword Illusion's final damage lasts longer, it lasts 8 seconds instead of combo default's 5 seconds. This can be kind of seen as like a damage compression, because previously in the way we used our bursts for heroes is you would Worldreaver at the start of Instinct, and then 15 seconds in or 18 seconds in when your Worldreaver has cooldown, you use Worldreaver again during your Instinct in order to get more final damage and continue your burst, right? But now, you will just use one illusion during your Instinct, because now, I'll get to the Instinct changes later, but you will now only need to use one illusion during your Instinct, and you get 8 seconds worth of final damage, and you just hit the boss. You don't have to worry about using a second illusion, or you don't have to worry about using a second default or second Worldreaver in order to get more final damage. You just get the full 8 seconds within your seed ring, within your Instinct. Also, the other thing to note is that the second Worldreaver during our current meta is not affected by seed ring, so it's pretty sad. But now, the full 8 seconds is within your seed ring, so you know, deal compression. It's burst compression, kind of damage compression. Anyways, that's a small thing to note. Okay, the biggest change, the biggest change in the entire patch for hero is that they've changed Instinct. Basically, Instinct now, instead of being a 240-second cooldown, it is a 120-second cooldown. They basically half the cooldown of Instinct, and they decrease the duration of Instinct from 30 seconds to 20 seconds, and the damage has been decreased from 400% to 325% for every spatial crack that you generate. So, like I said, you remember when I said that you don't have to spam 2 illusions within one Instinct? That's because the duration of Instinct itself has been decreased to 20 seconds. So no matter how much cooldown you have, you'll only be able to use illusion once during your Instinct. Alright? And that's at the start. Because you also want your illusion final damage to line up together with your C ring to front load all of your damage together. Alright? So to me, the combo Instinct cooldown decrease is a pretty godly change for hero in general. This solves the main problem that most heroes face in party play, which is our shitty 4-minute cooldown burst, which is very difficult to line up with everyone else because literally only like 4 or 5 classes in the game have a 4-minute cooldown burst. Everyone else is either 2-minute or 3-minute. So it's very difficult for us to actually burst in sync with all the homies. Everyone else is bursting, hero is just sitting on our ass not bursting because our burst still has a 1-minute cooldown most of the time. So yeah, it's a pretty damn good change for party play. You can now cosplay as a 3-minute class if you want to by waiting on your burst, by not bursting every 2 minutes, or even better, if your party is a 2-minute burst cycle party, or if you can just force them to adopt the 2-minute burst cycle, you will be very strong. Especially a New Bishop Prayer, because New Bishop Prayer has a 2-minute mode as well as a 3-minute mode. So yeah, if your party can afford to run 2-minute burst cycles, you'll be very strong compared to what it was before. If your party runs 3-minute burst cycles, at least you get the burst with the homies. Like, at least you get the burst with everybody, and you won't be bursting in a off-sync cycle, or like basically have to wait for like every other cycle to burst. So yeah. One of the main benefits for this change is that you can rotate in between your weapon jump strength 4 and your RR4 for all your bursts. So previously, when hero had a 4-minute burst cycle, we could only basically use RR4 for Instinct, and because Instinct was 30 seconds long, you only have like 15 seconds of a seed ring within a 30-second burst, which basically is like you have a very long burst and it's very strong, but only 15 seconds, like the front loading part of it, the first 15 seconds are very strong, and then afterwards the last 15 seconds are kind of wasted because you don't really have a seed ring to go along with it. But with this new burst cycle change, with the 2-minute burst cycle, you can use RR4 for your first burst, and then second burst you can use weapon jump strength 4. So basically, for both bursts, you're getting in a full 15 seconds of a seed ring. So either RR4 or weapon jump strength 4. It's hard to visualize, but I'm just gonna let you guys know that it's a DPM, it's a huge DPM increase. Additively, you also get the benefit of having Sword Illusion for both bursts, right? So you get Sword Illusion together with RR for your first burst, and you also get Sword Illusion with Weapon Jump Strength 4 for your second burst. So 8 seconds, 8 seconds, 16 seconds of 16 seconds of total final damage within your burst, within a 4-minute cycle, as compared to previously when you would get like 5 seconds at the start of Instinct, 5 seconds at the middle of Instinct, and maybe if you even have cooldown hat, you get another 5 seconds at the end of Instinct. But none of that damage is front loaded, everything is spread out, so it's overall just weaker in a 4-minute cycle during your long 30-second burst for the 4-minute cycle. But right now in a 2-minute cycle, everything is much more compressed, your damage is much more front loaded, and basically everything is good. You're gonna have to trust me on this, it's a DPM increase. Alright. Yeah, overall you have a big PP DPM basically with the new playstyle. Yeah, that's about it for Instinct. It's very good change. I feel like it's a very, very good change. And yeah, overall when I've looked at KMS heroes, like in the past few days and weeks, when KMS heroes have done like bossing montages and stuff like that, and by looking at Invent, obviously, people have reported about like a 15 to 20% decrease in boss timings. So basically like 10-minute runs become 8-minute runs, and like 15-minute runs become like 12-minute runs, something like that. So on a conservative estimate, I would say that this change, the overall changes are like a 15% final damage increase for hero. If you want to go high, you can probably even say 20 to 25% final damage increase, which is massive for hero. Now, this sounds like insanely broken, and it is. I think it's insanely broken in Maple Sea and GMS because we're on 0 attack speed, right? But in KMS, this was a much needed change because hero honestly wasn't that strong of a class in KMS, mostly because of the burst cycle. Like, it was very difficult to find parties for heroes as a 4-minute class in endgame parties especially. So it sounds pretty ridiculous, and I think it is pretty ridiculous, but you gotta remember the context that we're in Maple Sea and GMS where we have 0 attack speed, and 0 attack speed is severely affects combo instinct. Like, combo instinct is an attack speed dependent skill. Basically, the number of spatial cracks that you can generate with combo instinct is, the more spatial cracks you can generate, the better, and the way you generate them is by attacking faster. So attacking faster equals more combo instinct cracks, which means more damage, obviously. So yeah, these changes are going to be ridiculous for hero in GMS and Maple Sea, almost for sure. Anyways, moving on. Okay, we can also talk about some other changes that that benefit hero. So Yaldabaoth of Destruction and Tandanian Ruin. This is the Genesis final damage skill, has been changed to permanently increase final damage by 10%, and it no longer has activation / cooldown. So if y'all don't know what it was before, basically right now, when you first hit a mob or you first hit a boss, you get your Tandanian Ruin gets activated. You get a 30-second final damage increase of about 15%, and then after those 30 seconds, it disappears and it has a 90-second cooldown. So the cooldown starts ticking the moment you attack. So basically, it has by the time the duration ends, it has a 60-second cooldown. Now this was terrible for hero, obviously for obvious reasons, because we are 2-minute class, 4-minute class, right? So only your first instinct will have Tandanian Ruin, then your second instinct onwards basically is completely out of sync. Your Tandanian Ruin will just activate whenever it wants to activate, and you will never be able to sync it up properly with your instinct. Except if you apply some very advanced techniques like the weapon swapping thing, but we won't get into that because that's like stupid. That's stupid to consider. But anyways, now that it's been changed to permanently increase final damage by 10%, you no longer have to worry about accidentally activating your Tandanian Ruin. You no longer have to worry about syncing up your Tandanian Ruin for burst. Basically, whenever you want it, it's there, and it's just permanent 10% final damage increase for your DPM, which is amazing for hero. This is really, really good. This is probably, I won't say it's on par with like the instinct change, but this is like one of the biggest changes for hero across the board. I think that okay, so for me, right, I was expecting like one of a few changes to come in. I was expecting them to either change how Tandanian Ruin worked, change how combo instinct worked, or change how our final damage from Worldreaver worked. These were the three things that I thought they would change. I thought one of these three things will happen for hero sooner or later. I didn't expect all three of them to happen. So basically, this is all three of my wishes being fulfilled. Very, very pog. It's an insane change for hero. Okay, there's also a change for Maple Goddess Blessing. You can now store charges for it. One charge is prepared every 180 seconds and you can hold 2 charges. This is very complicated to understand, but basically just know that you will basically have Maple Goddess Blessing up until like your 5th or 6th burst in the boss, and then afterwards you will only have it for every alternate burst. So like for your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th burst, all the way up until then, as long as you have 2 charges prepared at the start of the boss, you will have Maple Goddess Blessing all the way until like around the 6th or 7th burst. I can't remember already. I'm very lazy to show you the math, but if you want to do the math, you can go do the math yourself based on the cooldown. So yeah, after that you will only have it for every alternate burst. So it's a really good change. You basically have Maple Goddess Blessing for most of your bursts, which is really nice. Okay, the other thing that was very important, or not very important, but it's super QOL, is that now hyper skills are affected by cooldown reducing effects. So Mercedes Union and cooldown hats. Skills such as Epic Adventure and Valhalla are now affected by CDR effects, and it's a very big QOL for us, as our damage cycle is very dependent on Valhalla. As you all know, Valhalla in the Destiny patch was updated so that it actually does damage now, because it actually does like extra sword strikes during our burst, which is pretty important. It's not a huge increase, it's like 7% final damage, but the thing that was a pain in the ass about the skill is that it wasn't affected by cooldown reducing effects. So basically your Sword Illusion, basically your Epic Adventure and your Valhalla will always be off sync with everything else, because they will cool down slower, right? They're not affected by Mercedes Union, not affected by cooldown hats. So that means that they're about 5-6 seconds slower than your Sword Burning Soul and Instinct when it comes to cooling down, which is super fucking annoying. But now they're affected, so everything cools down all at the same time, and you don't have to worry about your buffing cycle. You don't have to worry about, oh, I need to sync up everything together nicely. No. Everything is just going to be synced up nicely together for you, because all your hyper skills are going to be affected by a cooldown reducing effects, which is great. It's amazing. Another great QOL for Hero. Alright, now we can move on to talk about the benefits and detriments of the changes for Hero. For heroes in solo play, generally you will see a DPM increase across the board due to the combination of all the buffs. Like we said, all the changes like the Combo Instinct change, the Tandanian Ruin change, Maple Goddess Blessing change, and the cooldown, the hyper skills being affected by cooldown, all of these things combined together will give you quite a significant increase in your DPM. Playstyle wise, I think it will remain the same, because honestly, Hero right now, the way it plays is that you big burst every 4 minutes, but in between that you have a 2-minute off burst, right? Together with Sword Burning Soul and Valhalla in between. So it's basically the same thing, except that you add an extra instinct inside. So you have a 4-minute, you have like a 2-minute instinct, and then you have a 4-minute instinct. It's the same thing, exactly the same thing. So playstyle wise, I think it's relatively the same in terms of like buffing up, in terms of like how you fight the boss, in terms of like when you bind the boss and all that. Nothing really changed. But you will see quite a big increase in your damage for sure. This one is a given. Based on my preliminary findings from like all the KMS heroes and all that, they have already experienced like a 15 to 20% final damage increase. For Maple C and GMS, I am very scared. I fear that we will see a 25 to 30, maybe even 35% final damage increase based on how zero attack speed works with Combo Instinct. So the future is looking really bright for Hero. Maybe a little bit too bright. I'm a little bit afraid that the Hero might be a little bit too strong and might get nerfed. But you know, it is what it is. If they didn't nerf Dark Knight during Ignition, Hero does not deserve to be touched. Dark Knight is one of those super fucking OP classes that didn't get touched as well. So yeah, look at Dark Knights, don't look at Heroes. Nothing to see here. I'm kidding, by the way. Okay, one of the smaller, I wouldn't call it a detriment, but maybe inconveniences for Hero now is that we have a much more increased reliance on two different seed rings. So if you weren't running 2 different seed rings before, now you kind of have to. Either way, even before the patch, you should already be running 2 different seed rings, because Hero has a significant burst and off burst. But if you weren't, you definitely should now. If you only play with 1 seed ring, you'll most likely be weaker than pre-ignition Hero, because like I said, our overall 4-minute burst, quote-unquote 4-minute burst, is weaker. But we also have a super good 2-minute burst now to make up for that. So every 2 minutes you're bursting, which means that if you don't have a second seed ring to use with your every 2 minutes, like if you're not cycling seed rings every 2 minutes, you'll most likely be weaker than what you were before. Yeah, you kind of need 2 seed rings to kind of take advantage of all the changes that happen during Ignition. So yeah, if you don't have Weapon Jump 4 and RR4, please buy them. Or please go and do alls for them. Whichever one you need. yeah, to me, the full potential of hero can only really be unlocked if you have 2 different C rings to cycle in between your bursts. So yeah, definitely one of the detriments, I guess, or one of the disadvantages of hero now. I wouldn't really say it's kind of like a disadvantage, but also not really, because we actually gain quite a lot this patch, and it's as a result of these gains that you kind of have to use 2 C rings. Okay, another one of the benefits is that we now have a much easier playstyle. I won't say that I'm one of those people that was like super like, you know, elitist or like, you know, skill gatey, and I'm like, oh my god, my class is so much easier to play now. Oh my god, I used to be so much better than everybody else because I was using my iframe aggressive. No, okay, I don't care about that. The playstyle is no longer skill gated by if aggressively using an iframe as damage rather than just an iframe. So it's a lot simpler to play now because you can fall back on your iframe as just an iframe and just use it for defensive purposes. So survivability for heroes, for people that, you know, tried to use their iframes aggressively but found themselves in bad situations because they no longer have an iframe, survivability is through the roof now because you actually just have a 25-second cooldown iframe to dodge boss attacks, and you don't have to worry about, you know, not optimally using it for damage or like not optimally using it to enhance your burst cycle and all that. Doesn't matter. It's super simple to understand now. Just Sword Illusion during your burst and save your Worldreaver for Worldreaver. It used to be a lot more complicated than this. Like I mentioned in the text, you need to use like double Worldreaver during your burst last time. You need to Worldreaver off cooldown every chance you get for more damage uptime. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, no, none of that garbage. You can just play the class as what it should be. It's a simple, easy to understand bossing class. And the QL is also improved, obviously, from all the hyper skill changes. So everything syncs up nicely now. You don't have to worry about, you know, shitty Valhalla and Epic Adventure being on cooldown when Sword Illusion, or when Sword Burning Soul and Instinct are off cooldown. So yeah, very nice. You also most likely, okay, this one is not even a most likely, this is like a guarantee that you will see an increase in your dojo floor or your full rotation for all you people that enjoy doing these things and flexing them. I'm a dojo nerd myself. I do dojo quite a lot, so yeah, you will most likely see an increase in dojo floor to reflect the, or like full rotation as well, to reflect the increase in damage that you're doing in bossing now, obviously. So yeah, it's really good. Yeah. And most likely we'll see a decrease in sewer/culvert score. This is not confirmed. This one I'm on the fence about. I'm not sure whether or not you get a decrease or an increase. It'll probably require a little bit of tinkering because you need to figure out whether or not you need to figure out how to gain 2 instincts inside culvert. I believe it's possible. I've seen some KMS heroes do it, but I don't know how reliant it is on cooldown hats, so I need to go and do more research on this. But yeah, I mean, we'll see about this. For like people that don't want to try too hard for sewers, most likely your sewers/your culvert will decrease, your score will decrease. But honestly, who cares? Like using culvert as a measure of how strong you are is a really stupid idea. Full rotation/dojo is a much more accurate depiction of how strong you are. Anyways, moving on. All right, we'll talk about hero in party play. We'll cover 2 different scenarios. So first, we'll cover the less than ideal scenario. This less than ideal scenario is you're hard stuck in a 3-minute only party. Basically, you have a party full of Night Lords, and they're like, fuck you, man, I'm not bursting every 4 minutes, man. My DP, my burst uptime, man, and you can only burst every 3 minutes. You have to cosplay as a 3-minute class by not using Instinct every 2 minutes. Instead, you have to wait for Domain Prayer, Night Lord, Burst, or whatever, Spread Throw, and just burst every 3 minutes with the rest of them, with the rest of the normies. You gotta cope, just cope, you know, repress your inner molding about how you're using your cooldowns inefficiently, and just cosplay as a 3-minute class. At least you can do it now. Before this, there wasn't even an option to do this because your cooldowns were just 4 minutes. What could you do, right? You couldn't burst with your friends anyways. Even if you wanted to, you couldn't burst every 3 minutes. Now you can. You have the choice. You have the flexibility, which is really good. Overall, I think your damage should be either similar or increased. Most likely it's increased from pre-ignition because of all the other smaller buffs that came along with ignition, like the change to Tendinian Ruin. Overall, your burst will benefit from all the party buffs that you get for every single burst, but each burst will be slightly weaker than what it was before because of all the percent damage decreases for Instinct and the duration decrease for Instinct as well. So, but likely overall it will increase, the damage will increase because you're bursting every 3 minutes like a normal person, and you're not bursting every like 6 minutes. Because back, or should I say right now in the 4-minute meta for us, you can only burst every 6 minutes basically, because you gotta wait for the second burst, the alternate burst in order to burst. You can't actually burst every 4 minutes, because if not, you'd be bursting outside of stone, you'd be bursting outside of prayer, which is terrible. Yeah, so most likely your damage will increase in the 3-minute party. It's just that you'll be very sad because you're not fully utilizing the power of your class. You'll also probably only need 1 seed ring because you will most likely only be bursting every 3 minutes, and you might as well just use your RR4 or your Weapon Jump 4, whichever one you have, whichever is stronger. Because you won't be using your stuff every 2 minutes, you only be using it every 3 minutes. In theory, it should be a buff. I can't say for sure because I haven't played in that meta yet, and I haven't tried out what it's like cosplaying as a 3-minute class. Eventually, probably I will have to try, but overall, in theory, right now, it's almost definitely 100% a buff for your party bossing in this less than ideal scenario. Still, fuck 3-minute classes. Those normies should convert to 2-minute as well. Okay, moving on. Now we have a hero in party play, the ideal scenario. When you're in a party of 2-minute burst Giga Chads. You burst every 2 minutes and you tell your 3-minute friends to suck it up and sync up with you. That's hopefully you don't have that many 3-minute party members and you can just, like, everybody's 2-minute burst and you can just tell everybody to burst together. If not, you tell them to suck it up and burst together with you and wait the full 4 minutes to burst. So what will happen is probably you'll kill the boss faster than 3-minute virgin parties, and the damage will be far superior to what it was compared to what it was before Ignition. Because you can leverage the damage from 2 different seed rings, you can utilize the full potential of all the buffs that hero gets from the Ignition change, and yeah. Overall, in theory, your damage will be far superior. 2-minute class master race. Yeah, that's the ideal scenario, is that everyone in your party is either 2-minute burst or converts to a 2-minute burst class and syncs up with you. Yeah, quite a lot of 2-minute burst classes, to be honest. Alright, we'll move on to a more advanced discussion. This one hurts my brain to think about. I don't have that big of a brain. It hurts to think about this, but we will talk about whether or not you should get cooldown hats as a hero. Cooldown hats, yay or nay? This is like a small graphic that I prepared for y'all to kind of visualize what it's like to have a cooldown hat, to not have a cooldown hat, right? So this is like very, very rough napkin math. Please don't flame me for my bad math. If it's wrong, please tell me in the comments and please let me know. But based on my very, very shallow understanding, with a 5-second cooldown hat, your instinct will have about 1 minute and 50-second cooldown. This is given that Mercedes Link is a 5%, not Mercedes Link, Mercedes Union is a 5% cooldown reduction and it affects combo instinct as well. So 5% of 120 seconds is divided by 10 divided by 2, right? So it's about 6 seconds decrease. Then you have a 5-second hat, so that's like 11 seconds of cooldown reduction, thereabouts. So instinct will have about a minute and 50 seconds, a minute and 49-second cooldown, alright? With no cooldown hat, you will still have Mercedes Union, so that will still be a 5% decrease, assuming that your Mercedes Union isn't 250, but it should be at least 200, right? So 5% decrease, as I said before, is about 6-second decrease, so it'll be about 1 minute 55, 1 minute 54-second cooldown for instinct, alright? This is for no cooldown hat. That's the only cooldown reduction you have, basically. So in order to visualize what it looks like, basically at 0-0, you illusion plus instinct, and then because you have a 5-second cooldown hat, and because of Mercedes Union, your illusion will be a 30 seconds, 5% of 30 seconds is what? Divided by 10 divided by 2 is about 1.5 seconds. Plus 5 seconds, so it's 6.5 second cooldown reduction, so you have about a 23-second cooldown on Soul Illusion. Easy to understand, right? For no cooldown hat, your Soul Illusion will be minus 1.5 seconds only, because you only have Mercedes Union, so it's about 28.5 second cooldown, alright? Understand? Understandable. So this is why these are what the timestamps are for, and to show you like based on the cooldown of illusion, right? So as you can see, you can go and slowly go and read my math and see whether it's right or wrong. It's just the change is, the only difference is that at the end, you have to instinct first before your illusion. In the middle of your instinct, 5 seconds into your instinct, you will illusion, and to get the full 8 seconds of final damage together with your seed ring. For the no cooldown hat version, you will delay your illusion, your final illusion. Instead, you will wait for instinct to be up, then you will illusion at 1 minute 55 seconds. Alright? Understandable? Understandable. Moving on. So, if you didn't want to actually go and read the table, basically with the 5-second cooldown hat, you have 1 extra Soul Illusion to use in between your bursts right, you will have 1 extra Sword Illusion. 6 Sword Illusions versus 5. So it's about 8 more seconds of 66% final damage. Is it worth the stat loss? I have no idea. Alright? I have no fucking idea. There's also other benefits to cooldown hat, aka you have more Combo Instinct uptime, given the lower cooldown of Combo Instinct. You also have increased uptime for Soul of Burning Soul, Valhalla, and Epic Adventure, all the other smaller skills. So it's about a 5% increase in uptime of all skills, all things considered, which is very significant. It's very significant. So it's not just looking at the 8 extra seconds of final damage as well, by the way. So what are my thoughts on this? So for me, what I think is that cooldown hats require very, very, very precise and active gameplay. So if you look at all the timestamps that I've given, right, all of this requires you to cast Sword Illusion directly on cooldown in order to maintain final damage and in order to make sure that you actually manage to squeeze out the extra Sword Illusion in between all your your burst, right? In order to maintain this, in order to get that 1 extra 6 versus 5, 1 extra Sword Illusion, you actually have to very, very, very actively press Sword Illusion and, like, you know, you gotta be very on the ball with your bossing. Yeah, in order to get the benefits over a more simple stat hat, right? As well as the usage or the utilization of the rest of your skills as well, by the way. So like things like Valhalla and Sword of Burning Soul and Instinct, you have to use those off cooldown immediately as well, in order for you to see like an actual increase in uptime for your skills and actual gain over a stat hat, right? Cooldown hats are also most likely redundant in party play, because in party play most likely your cooldown hat won't actually factor in, because it requires all of your party members to either have a cooldown hat. Okay, so very specific scenario. Your entire party is a 2-minute cooldown party, and it also requires your entire party to have cooldown hats around the same timing as you, so that you can all burst together at the same time and your damage output, or rather your damage uptime, is actually realized. You actually realize the gain of having an increased damage uptime for all your skills, right? That's super unlikely, especially since for prayer now, for bishops, the benediction / prayer has like there's a 2-minute version of it, but bishops never run cooldown hats. They only ever run stat hats. So yeah, it's very unlikely that you will actually be able to realize the benefit of having a cooldown hat in party bossing, especially. All right, very, very, very unlikely, at least in my opinion. Another thing that I've neglected to put in this discussion is that it also decreases the cooldown of your iframe. So now that Worldreaver, you know, has an increased cooldown, like I said, is a 25-second cooldown now. Having a cooldown hat actually benefits quite a lot, because you'll be able to reduce the cooldown of Worldreaver, and you know, you'll be able to spare more iframes in case you have trouble surviving. But the thing is that to me, if you need to spam an iframe every 20 seconds to survive, you just need to get better hands. You probably just need to get better hands. If you're dying every 25 seconds because you can't fucking use an iframe, you need better hands, right? Yeah, it's kind of redundant to say that because especially since that the final damage is no longer tied to Worldreaver, you're only exclusively using it as an iframe skill. So you really truly only use it for like oh shit scenarios when you're about to die, and if those scenarios happen to you more often than every 25 seconds, I think you might have issues with bossing. So, you know, not saying anything, not saying, you know, you guys are shit or whatever, but most players won't actually need a cooldown hat for Worldreaver. So I didn't really think about that, and I don't think it's really relevant, because yeah, it's not that useful. Okay, overall, I really don't know whether cooldown hats are better. It will require a lot of testing, and I don't have the luxury of having a very nice cooldown hat and a very nice stat hat to go along with it and test and, like, you know, compare the two, right? So I will leave that to other people to do. In my own opinion, like in my own like very like not so min-max opinion, I prefer stat hats. I'm dumb. I have 10 IQ. I have 1 IQ for every combo orb, right? I can't be bothered to press Sword Illusion every single time it's off cooldown, and I can't be bothered to min-max my burst and to use my skills off cooldown every single time they're up. Yeah, I'm just dumb. So I don't think that it's worthwhile to have a cooldown hat, especially when I just want to chill and boss. You know, I don't want to try so hard for bossing. A stat hat will benefit me more, a lot more than a cooldown hat would. Yeah. So yeah, That's just my opinion. If you guys disagree, you agree, you can let me know. Yeah, that's basically my rough understanding of how the cooldown head discussion goes. So yeah, make your own decisions. This is just my opinion, like I said. So make your own decisions on whether you want to go for cooldown or whether you want to go for stat. That's all I'm gonna say. All right. Let's go for our conclusion. Our conclusion is that Hero is now Ultra Giga Chad. Honestly, I am more excited for this patch than I am for Destiny. Like, Destiny was nice and all, like, we got some really nice changes for Hero during Destiny, but this feels like the real Destiny change for Hero. This is the real Destiny change, or real Destiny patch for Hero. Like, during Destiny, we didn't even get buffed that much. We got like a maybe 7% final damage increase. That's like, compared to what other classes got. Now, holy shit, dude, this patch is insane. This is like the real Destiny patch for Hero, because all the final damage and all the QL is coming in for Hero during this patch. So I'm very, very excited for it. I can't actually wait. I just finished waiting 6 months for Destiny, and now I have to wait another 5 months for Ignition, which is pretty sad. But oh well, at least I know that the future is bright, right? So yeah, that's about it from me for today. It's a pretty long video as it is already, but thank you guys very much for watching the video. I will try my best to make more videos. Like I said, I'm kind of busy with IRL nowadays. I don't really have time to make so many videos anymore, but yeah, I'll try my best to make more videos covering all the topics that you guys want me to cover, like more grinding. I know I've been asked to do like 250 or 260 grinding areas and all that kind of stuff. I'll try my best to do it, and more bossing guides. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Thank you guys very much for watching the video. Please like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things, you know, as it is. If you made it this far, thank you very much. You are a hero. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.